Dhanava Pranam. Namaste. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shiradev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 6. Anartho pashamam sakshad bhakti yogam adhoksaje lokasyan janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by linking do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the Supreme Truth. Purport. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw, therefore, his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also, and he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls, who were bewildered by the external energy. And at last he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. It is a great transcendental science, and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the Supreme Truth. Text 7. Yasyam Vaishruyamam Nayam Krishne Parama Purushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsa Soka Moha Bhayapaha. Translation. Simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Purport. There are various senses of which the ear is most effective. There are various senses of which the ear is the most effective. This sense works even when a man is deep asleep. One can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep one is protected by the ear only. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely getting free from 3 material pangs. Everyone is full of lamentation at every moment. These are the primary symptoms of the material disease, and it is definitely suggested herein that simply by hearing the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one gets attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And as soon as this is effected, the symptoms of the material disease disappear. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead, and in this statement, the all-perfect personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is clearly confirmed. The ultimate result of devotional service is to develop genuine love for the Supreme Personality. Love is a word which is often used in relation with man and woman. and love is the only word that can be properly used to indicate the relation between Lord Krishna and the living entities. The living entities are mentioned as Prakriti in the Bhagavad Gita, and in Sanskrit, Prakriti is a feminine object. The Lord is always described as the Parama Purusha, or the supreme male personality. Thus, the affection between the Lord and the living entities is something like that between the male and the female. Therefore, the term love of Godhead is quite appropriate. Loving devotional service to the Lord begins with hearing about the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and the subject matter heard about him. The Lord is absolute in all respects, and thus there is no difference between him and the subject matter heard about him. Therefore, hearing about him means immediate contact with him by the process of vibration of the transcendental sound. And the transcendental sound is so effective that it acts at once by removing all material affections mentioned above. As mentioned before, a living entity develops a sort of complexity by material association, and the illusory engagement of the material body is accepted as an actual fact. Under such false complexity, the living beings under different categories of life become illusioned in different ways. Even in the most developed stage of human life, the same illusion prevails in the form of many isms and divides the loving relation with the Lord, and thereby divides the loving relation between man and a man. By hearing the subject matter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this false complexity of materialism is removed, and real peace in society begins, which politicians aspire for so eagerly in so many political situations. The politicians want a peaceful situation between man, and nation. But at the same time, because of too much attachment for material domination, there is illusion and fearfulness. Therefore, the politicians' peace conferences cannot bring about peace in society. It can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. About the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the foolish politicians may go on holding peace summit conferences for hundreds of years, but they will fail to achieve success. Until we reach the stage of reestablishment of our lost relation with Krishna, the illusion of accepting the body as the self will prevail, and thus fearfulness will also prevail. As for the validity of Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from revealed scriptures, and there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from personal experiences of devotees in various places like Vrindavan, Navadvip, and Puri. Even in the Kaumudi dictionary, the synonyms of Krishna are given as the son of Yashoda and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Para Brahman. The conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion, and fearfulness. These are practical tests for one who has actually given a submissive hearing to the readings of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Text 8. Sasamhitam Bhagavatim Kritvānukramya Chatmajam Shukam Adhyapayam Asa Nivrittinhiratam Muni. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. Purport. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras compiled by the same author. This Brahma Sutra, or Vedanta Sutra, is meant for those who are already engaged in self-realization. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is so made that one becomes at once engaged in the path of self-realization, simply by hearing the topics. Although it is especially meant for the Paramahamsas, or those who are totally engaged in self-realization, it works into the depths of the hearts of those who may be worldly men. Worldly men are all engaged in sense gratification. but even such men will find in this Vedic literature a remedial measure for their material diseases. Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from the very beginning of his birth, and his father taught him Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Amongst mundane scholars, there is some diversity of opinion as to the date of compilation of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It is, however, certain from the text of Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. When Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the world as the king of Bharatavarsha, he chastised the personality of Kali. According to revealed scriptures and astrological calculation, the age of Kali is in its 5,000th year. Therefore, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was compiled not less than 5,000 years ago. Mahabharata was compiled before Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and the Puranas were compiled before Mahabharata. That is an estimation of the date of compilation of the different Vedic literatures. The synopsis of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was given before the detailed description under instruction of Narada. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the science for following the path of Nivritti Marg. The path of Pravritti Marg was condemned by Narada. That path is the natural inclination for all conditioned souls. The theme of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease of the human being, or stopping completely the pangs of material existence. Text 9. Saunuka uvacha savai nivritti nirata sarvatropekshako muni kasyava brahmitim etam atmarama samhabhyasat. Sri Saunaka asked Sutta Goswami. Sri Sukadeva Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? Purport. For the people in general, the highest perfection of life is to cease from material activities and be fixed on the path of self-realization. Those who take pleasure in sense enjoyment, or those who are fixed in material bodily welfare work, are called karmis. Out of thousands and millions of such karmis, one may become an atmaram, by self-realization. Atma means self, and arama means to take pleasure. Everyone is searching after the highest pleasure, but the standard of pleasure of one may be different from the standard of another. Therefore, the standard of pleasure enjoyed by the karmis is different from that of the atmaramas. The atmaramas are completely indifferent to material enjoyment in every respect. Srila Shukadeva Goswami had already attained that stage, and still he was attracted to undergo the trouble of studying the great Bhagavatam literature. This means that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a postgraduate study, even for the Atmaramas, who have surpassed all the studies of Vedic knowledge. Text 10. Sutta uvacha Atmaramas chamunayo nirgranta apyuru krame kurvantya haitu kim bhaktim itam bhuta guna hari. Sutta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma, or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. Purport. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this Atmarama shloka very vividly before his chief devotee, Srila Sanatana Goswami. He points out 11 factors in the shloka, namely 1. Atmarama, 2. Munayaha, 3. Nirgrantha, 4. Api, 5. Cha, 6. Urukrama, 7. Korvanti, 8. Ahitukim, 9. Bhaktim, 10. Itam Bhutha Guna, and 11 Hari. According to the Vishva Prakash Sanskrit dictionary, there are 7 synonyms for the word Atma, which are as follows: 1. Brahman, the absolute truth; 2. Body; 3. Mind; 4. Endeavor; 5. Endurance; 6. Intelligence; and 7. Personal habits. The word Munhayaha refers to 1. Those who are thoughtful; 2. Those who are grave and silent; 3. Ascetics; 4. The persistent; 5. Mendicants; 6. Sages; and 7. Saints. The word Nirgrantha conveys these ideas: 1. Who is liberated from nescience; 2. One who has no connection with the scriptural injunction, i.e., who is freed from the obligation of the rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures, like ethics, Vedas, philosophy, psychology, metaphysics. In other words, the fools, illiterate, urchins, etc., who have no connection with regulative principles. 3. A capitalist, and also 4. One who is penniless. According to the Shabdakosha dictionary, the affix ni is used in the sense of 1. Certainty; 2. Counting; 3. Building; and 4. Forbiddance. And the word grantha is used in the sense of wealth, thesis, vocabulary, etc. The word urukrama means the one whose activities are glorious. Krama means step. This word urukram specifically indicates the Lord's incarnation as Vamana, who covered the whole universe by immeasurable steps. Lord Vishnu is powerful, and his activities are so glorious that he has created the spiritual world by his internal potency, and at the material world by his external potency. By his all-pervading features, he is everywhere present as the supreme truth, and in his personal feature, he is always present in his transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan, where he displays his transcendental pastimes in all variegatedness. His activities cannot be compared to anyone else's, and therefore the word urukrama is just applicable to him only. According to Sanskrit verbal arrangement, Korvanti refers to doing things for someone else. Therefore, it means that the Atma Ramas render devotional service unto the Lord, not for personal interest, but for the pleasure of the Lord, Urukrama. Hetu means causal. There are many causes for one's sense satisfaction, and they can be chiefly classified as material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation, which are generally desired by progressive persons. As far as material enjoyments are concerned, they are innumerable, and the materialists are eager to increase them more and more because they are under the illusory energy. There is no end to the list of material enjoyments, nor can anyone in the material universe have all of them. As far as the mystic powers are concerned, they are 8 in all, such as to become the minutest in form, to become weightless, to have anything one desires, to lord it over the material nature, to control other living beings, to throw earthly globes in outer space, etc. These mystic powers are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. The forms of liberation are 5 in number. Therefore, unalloyed devotion means service to the Lord without desire for the above-mentioned personal benefits. And the powerful personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, can be fully satisfied by such unalloyed devotees, free from all sorts of desires for personal benefit. Unalloyed devotional service of the Lord progresses in different stages. Practice of devotional service in the material field is of 81 different qualities, and above such activities, is the transcendental practice of devotional service, which is 1, and is called sadhana bhakti. When unalloyed practice of sadhana bhakti is matured into transcendental love for the Lord, the transcendental loving service of the Lord begins gradually developing into 9 progressive stages of loving service, under the headings of attachment, love, affection, feelings, affinity, adherence, following, ecstasy, and intense feelings of separation. The attachment of an inactive devotee develops up to the stage of transcendental love of God. Attachment of an active servitor develops up to the stage of adherence, and that for a friendly devotee develops up to the stage of following. And the same is also the case for the parental devotees. Devotees in conjugal love develop ecstasy up to the stage of intense feelings of separation. These are some of the features of unalloyed devotional service for the Lord. According to the Hari Bhakti Surodaya, the import of the word itambhuta is complete bliss. Transcendental bliss in the realization of impersonal Brahman becomes comparable to the scanty water contained in the pit made of a cow's hoof. It is nothing compared with the ocean of bliss of the vision of the personality of Godhead. The personal form of Lord Sri Krishna is so attractive that it comprehends all attraction, all bliss, and all tastes, rasas. These attractions are so strong that no one wants to exchange them for material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation. There is no need of logical arguments in support of this statement, but out of one's own nature, one becomes attracted by the qualities of the Lord Sri Krishna. We must know for certain that the qualities of the Lord have nothing to do with mundane qualities. All of them are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. There are innumerable qualities of the Lord, and one is attracted by one quality, while another is attracted by another. Great sages, such as the four bachelor devotees, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara, were attracted by the fragrance of flowers and tulsi leaves anointed with the pulp of sandalwood, offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Shukadev Goswami was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Shukadev Goswami was already situated in the liberated stage, yet he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. This proves that the quality of his pastimes has nothing to do with the material affinity. Similarly, the young cowherd damsels were attracted by the bodily features of the Lord, and Rukmini was attracted by hearing about the glories of the Lord. Lord Krishna attracts even the mind of the goddess of fortune. He attracts in special cases the minds of all young girls. He attracts the minds of the elderly ladies by parental affection. He attracts the minds of the males in the humors of the servitude and friendship. The word Hari conveys various meanings, but the chief import of the word is that he, the Lord, vanquishes everything inauspicious and takes away the mind of the devotee by awarding pure transcendental love. By remembering the Lord in acute distress, one can be freed from all varieties of miseries and anxieties. Gradually, the Lord vanquishes all obstacles on the path of devotional service of a pure devotee, and the result of the 9 devotional activities, such as hearing and chanting, becomes manifested. By his personal features and transcendental attributes, the Lord attracts all psychological activities of a pure devotee. Such is the attractive power of Lord Krishna. The attraction is so powerful that a pure devotee never hankers for any one of the 4 principles of religion. These are the attractive features of the transcendental attributes of the Lord. And adding to this the words api and sha, one can increase the imports unlimitedly. According to Sanskrit grammar, there are 7 synonyms for the word api. So, by interpreting each and every word of this shloka, one can see unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna that attract the mind of a pure devotee. Thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 11 on Wednesday. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnu Pad Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to our Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees Ki Jai, Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Vigyan Muni Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Niskam Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Ekachakra Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju Ki Jai. All glories to Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Shyam Kund, Radha Kund ki jai. Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Deva, Vrinda Devi ki jai. Nitai Gora Hari Hari Bol. Dhanavad. Humble Dhanavad to you.